All right. Can we get it together today?
My goodness.
This has been quite the ordeal, just being able to get to this place. And today we have a very, very special guest. Her name is Savvy D. Jones. She is extremely passionate about helping Black women not only exodus abroad, but redefining their next chapter through communal living. So, welcome, Savvy.
Oh, thank you so much, Brill. Thank you so much for inviting me. I am excited to share.
Yay. Okay, so before we really get into it, because I have plenty of questions. I know that those watching this will have questions as well. Savvy, go ahead and tell us about yourself real quick.
Well, my mother named me Donna. However,
Mhm.
when I started traveling and doing different things like that, Savvy kind of became a name that attached itself to me. So I am originally from Michigan, up there in the thumb. You know how we do the thumb over here,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that's where I stayed for like 30, almost 34 years, working at the psychiatric hospital for the state of Michigan as a registered
Oh.
nurse. I was the director of training and education and loved that job.
Oh.
Really did. I enjoy sharing what I know to help other people grow, but there was so much red tape, and they were doing a lot of ageism where they were trying to
Mhm.
push older people out. And so instead of being pushed out, I just jumped. I said, you know what? I got other things that I can do that I'm passionate about. So towards the end, about the last 5 years of working there, I rebrand myself by getting some certifications in coaching. Um, in 2018, that's when I decided to, I say resign. I don't like the word retire because it
Mhm.
has like such negative meaning to it. I mean, to be cast aside, to be
Mhm.
put out of use, and when I was working at the hospital, many people within 2 years of retiring were being buried. And that was not going to be my story. So I decided to resign and then do something different. And so I was looking online and came across, her name was Beverly, Miles and
Mhm.
Coffee. And she was talking about this TEFL program. And so I said, ooh, I could do that. I mean, English is my native tongue. Why don't I? And I'm a lifetime learner, girl. I'm always signing up for something. Somebody gonna always get some money for me if I can get some education. It's just, girl, it's my food. It's my
I
food.
got you.
And so I decided to take the TEFL program. And I could have gone to New York or to Chicago. I had already been to those places. But I saw this word called Guadalajara. And I'm practicing saying that
Oh,
word, girl. And I said, you know
Guadalajara.
what?
Mhm.
I want to do that. I said, but I need to know more. And so I reached out and invested some time to speak with Beverly. And she told me that she did that program in Guadalajara. But instead of staying at a place like a communal living space, she chose to stay with a family. And I said,
Mhm.
okay, that's her story. But I said, I think I want to do the community thing where
Mhm.
I can talk with other individuals and other students may be there. And so that's what I did. I ended up doing that. And as I was preparing to go and do that, I came across Stephanie Perry
Of
online,
course.
I said, okay, so who is this woman talking about living abroad? I said, that's in my wheelhouse. I said, that's something
Mhm.
I've been thinking about doing. I said, let me see how she's doing it. And so I signed up for the Exodus Summit. And I am so glad that I did, because I was already preparing to come to Mexico. But at that
Mhm.
time, I did not have what I call a soft landing to do
Mhm.
it. I didn't
Mhm.
know anyone. The only people I had been in communication with were the individuals from school. So I couldn't put a face with it. I just had this accent voice that spoke good English, and I was glad about that. And they
Mhm.
had provided me a communal place where I could come to live. And fortunately, when I was living there, they were good people. We each had our own individual suite with our own bathroom and refrigerator and microwave, and then we shared a kitchen, a living area, and whatnot. There were people from all over the world, and there was actually one individual that was from Mexico there as well.
Mhm.
And so it worked out well. And I said, I kind of like this. I've got
Mm-hmm.
neighbors, but when I want to retreat, because I'm somewhat of an ambivert,
Yeah.
I've got my extrovert side, but then I've got my introvert side that I have to feed. And
Mm-hmm.
so it worked out well. So I go to the Exodus Summit, and in there, we got into breakout rooms. And one of the breakout rooms was for women who were considering moving to Guadalajara or Jalisco or the Chapala area. And
Mm-hmm.
so Sonia Fuloyan was in that group. And I saw her passion. I heard that she was already kind of living in Mexico. I said, oh, she's just not too far away. So I DM'd her. And I said, Sonia, if you take the lead on growing this group and setting up a face group for these individuals to be responsible for their goals and objectives, you be the pilot, I'll be your co-pilot. And so she invited me to come to Chapala, which was only about 20, 30 minutes away, depending on what cab driver you got.
Oh.
And so I went and visited her, and I loved the place where she was living. It was a communal living space. And the owners of that building said, well, instead of, it got late. And so I wasn't going to be able to return to Guadalajara. And so they said, well, instead of trying to find an apartment or going over and staying in the QQ hotel, why don't you just stay in this empty suite that we have? And I said, okay, no worries. Free night stay, love it. Woke up the next morning. It was the best sleep I had had in I don't know how many years. And so I woke up and I said, I feel at home.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a beautiful thing. And so they said, well, it is available. Are you considering living here or moving here? I said, absolutely. And so they said, well, we need to vet you. So they set up an interview for me, and it was a lady from Guadalajara, a lady from Argentina, a lady from Australia, another lady from the United States, and then of course Sonia, who was already living in this community place. And so they asked questions. Everybody is an artist of some type. We have Sonia, who's a textile artist. I'm a writer. The other two ladies were fiber artists. And so we had something in common. And the idea was that you come together, you live in your own unit, but if you want to come together as a family, you can do that as well. So Sonia and myself are on the first floor of this refurbished hotel, and we share a partially outdoor kitchen. The second level is the lady from Argentina, Tina, and the other lady from Australia, and they share a kitchen. And then on the third floor, we have this community area. We have an altar that kind of represents who we are and what we stand for. We have a mission statement, and we have this chef kitchen. So if none of us want to cook for ourselves that day, we can come together and say, you know what, let's call so-and-so and see if he will cook a meal for us in this beautiful chef kitchen. I'm telling you, like Golden Girls on steroids.
Look, I know that's right. I'm a fan of the chef. Real quick, I don't want let me interrupt you real fast, because first of all, I want to say hello to everyone who's watching. Go ahead and tell us where you are tuning in from in the chat. Also, speaking of where everyone is from, let's take a couple steps back. So you said that you are from Michigan. And did you grow up doing a lot of traveling, or?
Child, no.
Okay.
Let me explain this.
Okay.
So my dad was an evangelist. My mom was a stay-at-home nurse, a stay-at-home wife, until my youngest sister got into school full time. And then she and I entered into college at the same time. Me to get my nursing degree as a registered nurse, and she went on to go back to school and got her LPN degree.
Nice.
So in growing up, traveling for us was maybe to Flint, Michigan, where my grandparents lived, or a backyard barbecue. That was what our vacations were.
Okay.
9 kids. I'm the oldest of 9 kids.
Whoa,
so
my back just started hurting. Whoa.
Yeah. we never went to Disney World. A lot of our dreaming was either in a magazine or a catalog when Christmas time came for things that we wanted. but traveling was nothing that we did as young people. We couldn't afford it. Now, I grew up in the church, so there were times when we would have conventions and different things like that, and I traveled there. But when I got the bite or the bug for Mexico, it was because of things that I was seeing on television. The people seemed happy. They seemed like they were big families. I could relate to a big family. They liked to party and enjoy life. And I said, "Oh!" And they had the most cutest little language. And I just wanted to know more about that. So that's where my love for Mexico originally started.
Did you start doing, because you said that you got your name Savvy from traveling. So where were you, like pre-Mexico, where were you like traveling to? And how long would you be gone?
Okay, so California, and for that I was gone for maybe 10 days. Mexico in Puerto Vallarta, I've gone there twice, with my sister Carrie, who also loves to travel. Now, her and her husband traveled a lot. So there were, once I got grown, they had what they call a timeshare in Vegas. And so every other year I would get to go to Vegas, and it was for a week long. Let's see, like Flint, nothing international.
Okay, so basically,
with the exception of Puerto Vallarta.
Basically, you're going on kind of how we all, as Black women, especially those of us who were working in the workforce, so taking, using some PTO and going, domestically, or even going to more of a controlled like resort environment.
Exactly. And on that note, when we scheduled the vacation to go, or at least in my situation, I always had to have a few days before and a few days after just to decompress. So my vacation was even shorter than the time I was away from the workplace, because I was trying to get this quick rest so that I could go back.
I got you. Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit now. So you told us that when you left working at the psychiatric hospital, which that really piqued my interest. And then you were like, yes, I was a trainer. And I'm like, okay. So when we start talking about folks, how to screen folks,
Ooh,
I think you have a good point of reference. Okay. So you left, work because you realized that people were aging out and they were starting, there was some shenanigans afoot. And then you decided to, just leave. And then you wanted to get your TOEFL certification, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that you could teach ESL or English, as a second language, or English to foreigners. Okay. So now you've done Exodus Summit, which I am such a fan. Okay, we can talk about that in a minute. But we'll talk about it now. So if it was not for Exodus Summit and Stephanie Perry, so she can go ahead and take all the credit, if it wasn't for them, we would not be having this conversation. Because there is, fun fact, Savvy and I shared the same business coach. Shout out to Dr. Linda. But I met Dr. Linda through like a YouTube group that came out of Exodus Summit. And you met Dr. Linda. Are you in that same YouTube group, or I'm sure you found some like Exodus related?
Oh, absolutely. Because I've taken a couple of her courses. So, how to get your first clients, and how to get your YouTube up and started. Yeah. Which is why I have a YouTube channel.
Yeah. Okay. So then you linked up with Sonia, right? And then you went to visit. You had the best sleep. Okay. So I'm taking it with some of that, like, you wake up with a little, you wake up with a little, okay. So you had some really good sleep, and you are in a okay, let me back it up. So you said now that you were in a communal environment, but at that time, like, what did you consider communal living, or did you consider communal living before you went to Mexico?
I did not. I had not considered communal living before going to Mexico. because I grew up in a large family, I never had my own space. And so, I couldn't hide stuff, because one of my younger siblings was going to find it and eat it or use it or whatever. So when I got to a place where I could afford my own space, that's what I kind of grew accustomed to. But I always had a desire to have space in my space for someone in need. So back then I called them, and it's still called that today. My home that I have in Portage, which is like right adjacent to Kalamazoo, I call my home Shepherd's Landing. And the reason being is that when my family members or friends find themselves on hard times, I wanted them to have a safe space to come and kind of get their footing again, get your finances in order, get your life in order, and then, go on back out there. So that is a form of communal living, because we're sharing the same space, and they pay a little rent. They're responsible for their own groceries. So that was the only kind of communal living I offered or was a part of, but I didn't call it that. I didn't know that was what it was. It was just something I did.
Well, and also too, I think with it being family, I think we can understand that, it's our people, so they can be in our space. Okay, now let's fast forward. So you are staying in this building with the amazing chef's kitchen, and I am a fan of having someone cook for you, because I have a personal chef that cooks all my meals.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. See how I just said that? All right. We got to give him the glory. Okay. So you're there. Tell me what happened next, because I think you said there's an Argentinian that was living there as well.
Yes. A lady from Argentina. Now, part of her situation is that she can't stay more than 6 months because of the laws that govern how she gets her pension or different things, that their citizenship, all of that is tied up into, they have to be there at least 6 months. So she is usually gone for half of the year. That lady is from Australia, not Argentina, Australia. Okay. The lady from Argentina, she also lived part-time in California, and she also was from, I think it was Egypt. But she speaks fluent Spanish. And so she was an asset to have in the home. And I used to always tell her, I said, we need to have a Fiesta Friday where we are forced to speak Spanish, only Spanish. We never got to that. But so we had an individual that could interpret for us when we had to deal with individuals on the phone or individuals who came to the house who knew no English. We did have someone there that spoke fluent Spanish.
Okay, now we've got, I guess, the next iteration. So what happened in your communal living journey after that to lead us to, I guess, where you are right now?
Where we are now. Yes. So the two individuals from Argentina and Australia have recently moved out. And so Sonia and I now have I call it a wonderful opportunity to be the house managers. And we are now renting those spaces out to Black women who want a sabbatical in the area of Jalisco, Mexico. You want to come to Chapala, you don't, know the place, you need a soft landing. So we're offering those rooms available to them. That's in we're calling it Casa Caoba, which translates to mahogany house. So that is right there in Chapala. We have space for women who want to come and experience a co-living lifestyle. Long term, we're not talking a couple of weeks. We're talking long term. If they want a shorter stay in the area, we have our bed and breakfast for that.
I love that. Okay, so hold on. Tell me the time. When did you start? When did you go to Mexico to get your certification? Like what?
That was in 2021.
Okay, so what month of 2021?
November 20th.
November 20th, 2021. And then you were doing some communal living while you were in school. Then you ended up in this former
Chapala.
boutique hotel in Lake
Yep.
Chapala. When was that?
January of 2022.
Okay. And then when did the Argentinians and the Australians move out? Like, when was that?
That
When you
was
all became
just
the
this
house
past
manager?
summer. This past summer.
Oh, okay. So you all were living there together for a couple of years, and then
Yes.
you became the house managers this summer. Then
Yes. Yes.
okay. So let's stay in Mahogany House first, and then we can talk about your bed and breakfast. Okay. So in Mahogany House, like, how did you come up? And I know that you mentioned that you allowed your family to stay there. So that is where your heart is. And that is, I think, really like one of your missions, you know, in your ministry. Okay. So I understand the part about how you ended up creating that space for Black women to come and retreat. How did you end up living with, like, deciding to go into this situation by choice versus, you know, by more like convenience? Because once you all became the house managers, now this has taken a completely different role.
Mm-hmm. When I was in the U.S., I always wanted, I took some courses on real estate because I just
Mhm.
wanted to understand that industry. And I wanted to understand the management of places, but I never had the opportunity. And so now it has opened its door here in Mexico. And I said, when I left the US and came to Mexico, I bought a one-way ticket. I didn't tell anybody.
Oh.
I didn't tell anybody I was leaving, with the exception of my son and the individuals who were going to be renting my house while I was gone.
Mhm.
But I didn't want any naysayers. I didn't
Mm.
want anybody putting anything in the universe that was going to be a hindrance to me doing what I was getting ready to do. So I bought a one-way ticket in business class, and I said, God, whatever doors you open, I'm going to walk through them. So when this door opened, I said, okay, God, here's another chapter. I am going to be able to do something good for
Mhm.
women like myself who wanted to exit the US and live someplace else that was more healthy, more
Mhm.
family oriented, more adventurous, without any risk. I mean, there's some risk, but not the risk of just doing it blindly.
Right. Okay, so using some expertise. All right, so I guess, okay, tell me about your bed and breakfast real quick, and then I want to get into the meat and potatoes, not just because I'm hungry and I didn't have my supper yet, but for those of you who've ever seen any of my lives, I really start cutting up when like the blood sugar gets low. But like, all jokes aside, I do want to talk about um this cost savings, the benefits of communal living, and then we can get into, I guess, really how people can start. So we'll just put a pin there and let's talk about. I know you said that you wanted to create a soft landing. So do you believe that you experienced the soft landing of
Oh,
communal living?
absolutely. Absolutely. When Sonia invited me to come and check out the place, and when the owners of the building invited me to be a part of the community, I don't know how softer you can
Mm,
land than that. And with the vision that they had, one of the lady from Argentina, it was her baby initially, where she wanted this communal space for women so that we could age gracefully, together. And if at some point we became sick, we would invite a nurse in, and we would still live and die in this community living, where we had
mm,
support, where we had love, where we
mhm.
had friendship and safety,
Yeah.
safety and security. Um, the cost of living is definitely a big factor with me living in Mexico. Our dollars go further.
Hmm.
and I'll just put this out there. My rent for my suite was $600 a month. That included 2 maids, a gardener, a handyman, the electric bill, the water bill, the internet, our laundry facility, and the whole house. I mean, it's a whole house that I have access to. I have my suite, but then I have the community room. I have the mirador that's, you can see the mountains and the water. I'm just a block away from the Malecone. I'm in central Chapala.
Oh.
And everything is included in that cost for only $600.
What?
600 US bucks.
Okay, hold on. I need to get my notepad. Okay, folks. Look, I'm about to put some bunk beds, all right, in every in every room. Have a little soul hostel. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but all jokes aside, like that is beautiful how you all envisioned it, because I could see when you do move away from family, or even as you start to age, many times people are alone. Or even as you mentioned, when people are retiring, they've got, a couple months before they start to deteriorate.
Yeah.
Now, so you did say that there's definitely some cost savings, and that the dollar goes further, internationally most times. But
Right.
Let's talk about some people who, I guess, tell me about when you had family come stay in your home. Was that also a cost savings? I know you mentioned that they paid some rent, but would you say that
actually it costs more?
Oh, it did.
Yeah, because your water, more water is being used, more electricity is being used. Individuals aren't as product conscious as you may be. So, they're heavy handed with certain supplies that you're using in the home. And I use organic, natural supplies. I'm part of a wellness company. And so I order stuff every month, and it's not cheap. It's economical, but it's not cheap. And so, when I'm ordering it for myself, and then you have 4 to 5 times more people using it, you're having to replace it more and more. So it gets more costly. Food, just the upkeep as far as keeping doors and on the hinges, and, just different things that comes along with wear and tear on the house. But when you multiply that times 4 or 5 people, opposed to it just being one, there's going to be more cost.
So with it being more cost, and that means that you could, in theory, let's just say that this is not your family. So let's just say I am in the US right now. We do know with the economy, we also know that we have just too much stuff. we have so much stuff. That is a testament to, if you just put decluttering videos, even if you just do within like the Exodus Summit, et al. Sphere, there are people who, have started decluttering 1 and 2 years ago, and they are still going through things. So let me ask you this. If I did want to have some domestic co-living with people that are not necessarily my family, but to do it with the cost savings in mind, is that possible?
I believe that it is. Before my family moved in, I had considered renting my home out. On the first level, there's 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. There's a master bedroom with its own bath, and then there's 2 other bedrooms that they have access to the main bath. And then there's also a half bath in the laundry area. So I had done some research on renting my home out to professionals. Like, I'm a nurse. And so I had considered making my home available to traveling nurses or doctors who come for a specific stay. So that is an option, and that would be a route that I would consider once my family moves out. That is what I am considering doing with that home. I'm in an area that the statistics were saying per person I could get $1,500 a month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And multiply that times 3. So yes. it would be a very lucrative business to have.
So that is one way. So if people are saying like, I'm trying to dip up out of here. Okay. I got an exodus.
Mm-hmm.
I have a home. I have some room that could accommodate other people. That is a
Yes.
cost savings for me. It could be a way to save up money, and it could
Mm-hmm.
also be a way to cover all of the overhead expenses.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
then, okay, so let's talk about that then. If someone that is watching, because after all, you are the co-living diva, okay? I really, one of the things with this series, Sisters in a Movement, is really, really to just show Black women, a variety of other Black women, things that they have done to either facilitate their exodus before, during, and after their exodus, even if it is just the exodus with your emotions and
Mm-hmm.
in your head and in your heart before you potentially leave the US for full time or even part time. So let's talk about what you would do if you were starting over with communal living, and speak to some of the Black women who are watching and hopefully taking copious notes to really just give like a high level of just some steps that they should take if they are considering beginning co-living.
One of the things that I would say to do is learn about co-living. So you need to do your research. You need to go online. YouTube is full of information, and inquire as to what it entails. Many of us, well, I don't know, you might not be old enough, but the Golden Girls, they
Hello.
were
Picture it, Sicily.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
my son is 29. Okay, so I'm definitely
But
old enough to know.
yeah, so
Right?
so they were in Miami.
Yeah.
That was where they were. My co-living is in Mexico. You may want to do a co-living somewhere else in the world, but I
Mhm.
would definitely learn about the idea of co-living and then do the research. The other thing that you want to do is evaluate your finances. How much do you need to do this? How much are you going to be getting in retirement? How much are you going to be getting in Social Security? Do you have a slide hustle that can supplement
Not a
those
side hustle.
governmental things? Because the government is never going to give you enough to live the luxurious life you deserve and want.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you're going to have to take your God-given talents and develop some type, I call it a slide hustle, because I believe that you should create it as you're approaching retirement. That way, when you get to retirement, you slide off into that thing and you still have purpose and you can still have fulfillment in the things that you desire, the things that line up with your heart's desire, with your purpose, with your destiny. That's going to also profit you.
Mhm.
So evaluate the money situation. The other thing you need to do is ask questions. Come on programs like this and ask your questions. I believe that iron sharpens iron. So when you
Mhm.
get together with like-minded people and you can ask specific questions, you can avoid a lot of mistakes. The other thing that you want to do is, get into like a network, get community. That's one of the most important things about communal living is the community. You
Mhm.
know, to have where I'm weak, you may be strong. Learn each other's personalities, because sometimes there's the clashing of personalities. I'm a very blue and orange personality. I would probably drive a green personality crazy.
Wait
So
a minute. I'm 50% green and 50% blue. Like, I've taken it several times and I end up split down the middle. But you
yeah.
already know. Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is you can't come to my house. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Up. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But yeah, so I mean, you need to make sure that you have community. Get involved with Facebook groups, and get involved with YouTube channels that speak to your soul. Support them, not just sitting and watching, but if they have programs available, if they have coaching available, invest in what it is that you want to do. Everything is not free. So you
Mhm.
you want to make sure that you put your invest some money. I'm not saying go broke, but
Right.
invest in what it is that you really want to do.
Yes, even if it's time. Like I'm a fan of
Yes,
you invest
yes,
time if you don't have the money because I am a multi. I have so many YouTube university degrees that we'd be here for an hour if I just jotted them all down. But
right.
you mentioned there are so many resources that if the money is funny, okay, you can still do some groundwork research and begin to
Exactly.
lay the foundation so that you can be an informed consumer. Because I'm always talking about the be an informed consumer before you
Yes.
even want to invest in a coach. You should have some kind of base knowledge. And I know that you mentioned that this is good and to have that slide hustle and things for people that are approaching retirement. But is this something that can still be done by people like me who, I have a couple houses, but I'm not necessarily near, well, I mean, I'm getting there, but, not near
Oh,
retirement age.
absolutely. And which is why I tell people all the time, my avatar, the individual I serve, is that baby boomer and late bloomer. That late
Okay.
bloomer can be any age,
That's
but
me.
they,
Okay.
they've been putting the desires of their heart off. They just put
Mhm.
their life on perpetual pause. And
Yes.
I'm challenging you to push the play button. Let's
Yeah.
do the doggone thing.
Okay. Now that we've talked about Casa number one, let's talk about how you went from letting your people stay in the front room, okay, using up all your good products, okay, that good lotion. I saw the Renew lotion, okay, I know about the Renew, okay, highly moisturized and highly favored, okay. But so, how did you go from that to being in Mexico and having that soft landing home for Black women to now having another establishment, your bed and breakfast? Go ahead and tell us about that.
That came with an invitation. Sonia and another sister, her name is Sunshine, they saw this big house, and Sunshine kept telling Sonia, we should invest in that. We should invest in that, and we could make it a bed and breakfast. And Sunshine loves to cook. She's an excellent cook. And so Sonia called and told me, Savvy, we have a proposition. We have something that we think we want to do in the Chapala area. It's actually in San Nicolas de Arabara. And so I said, okay. So I got an invitation to go and look at the building and immediately fell in love with it. So it is a 4-bedroom casa. It's huge. And it has an Olmec head in the front of it. And it
Ooh.
has a cross in the front of it. And when I saw those two symbols, I said, okay, there's something here. I'm connecting with this.
Mhm.
And so the individual that we made our agreement with said, give us a year to see what we can do with this. And we have had support from the city officials telling us, what paperwork we need to have in place. And as long as we are moving toward getting all of that stuff in place, that we could go ahead and open up our establishment, which we call Sojourners Vista del Lago.
Oh,
And and it's right on the main carretera in San Nicolas de Ibarra. You can go to the website, you can see the rooms. We made sure that each of the rooms had a theme. And so we have the Oshun room, we have the Phoenix room, and then we also have the Traveler's Suite. The 4th room we made into our office so
okay.
that we are able to be on the premises when we have guests that want to travel the road less traveled, to
I got
enjoy
you.
that road. It's a very pastoral area. I mean, the roosters are our alarm clock.
Oh, I miss them. I miss those.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, and it's just a very quaint town. Now, with that, we do have a relationship with the golf course, which is like just up the road, less than a mile away. So one of the amenities is that anybody that stays in our bed and breakfast, they have access to the golf course. And we're working on some other relationships with area businesses so that, if you want to have a spa day, we know we have a relationship with people that you can do that. So yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now I was taking notes and then I forgot. So now we got to go back real quick. Okay. You know, we talked about this offline. We got to talk about the weirdos, okay? Like, I'm a weirdo, but I'm not like a weirdo. And I know
Right.
that is something, I'm just gonna speak for myself and for everybody else in the chat. That's something that we are concerned about. Family is one thing, but having strangers in our house. So, just really fast, can you tell what are some of, I guess, the things that you may look for, or just even some of the considerations, as you mentioned, if you are
Mhm.
even thinking about doing communal living?
Yes, definitely have. You definitely need to interview the individuals. I mean, just about everybody you can find on social media, and
Mhm.
there are some paid platforms that if you have somebody's name, you can do a little research on them. I am grateful that I am a very sensitive individual in that I have a gift of discernment. And
Mhm.
so, and I pray about things. I don't take that lightly at all. And one of the things that I do is I check my peace gauge. And
Okay.
anybody coming in my space, if my peace leaves, then I just serve those individuals an eviction notice.
Oh.
And I've had conversations with Sonia, and we would talk with individuals, and I would tell her, I would say, this is a little off. So we're not going to say no, but maybe we will postpone and allow
Mhm.
that demon to come out. And when it
Not
comes
the
out,
demon. Not the
you
demon.
know, and it could be just that the individual talks too much,
Mhm.
or maybe their cleanliness isn't to the level that you want it to be. I mean, those are things that you have to take into consideration with communal living. Are you going to be the one that tells somebody they need a new deodorant, or me? So just simple things like that. But do an interview. Go on. I mean, jobs now, they look you up on Facebook, they look you up on
Mhm.
social media to
Yeah.
see you in your realness. We do the same
Mhm.
thing.
Okay. So doing a little research. Okay, so you're saying that do the vibe check.
Definitely.
Um, Definitely do some research on social media, and also pay attention to your intuition,
Yes.
which unfortunately, Black women, we have been gaslit. We gaslight ourselves. We second guess. Is this, so that is something that sounds like it is important to get back in touch with
It
your
is.
intuition during this process, and just
Yes.
allow yourself to go into it without just doing all this thinking. Just go on what you feel and not
Right.
try to make, a peg fit into a square.
Exactly.
Okay.
That is it. That
Okay.
is it.
Now, this is my other thing. I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a video that you have. I think it's 5, but it's like, are your BFFs keeping you
Yes.
from communal living? And I will put this in the chat. Like, yes, Royal, we can see your comments. So I'm gonna put the video, not in the chat, I'm sorry, I'm gonna put the video in the description, along with all of your information, links to your bed and breakfast, links to people if they want to work with you, or even like an introductory session that you do.
Absolutely.
I'll let you talk about that here in a bit. But tell me, high level, what are these BFFs?
So I call them the BFFs, or the big five Fs.
Mhm.
And so you don't want to let obstacles get in the way of your progress. And that could be
Oh, you know what? See, hold
family,
on.
it could be
Okay.
friends, it could be
All right.
fallacies, things that you've heard or people have said, they have no clue what they're talking about. Fear and finances. So it's the big five
Okay.
Fs.
I think you already know what I'm gonna say is that you froze up.
Oh,
You fr- Look, this has been okay. We don't need to talk about it because we're here. Can you just run those back one more time? We heard like the
sure.
tail end, but if you could just say it,
Sure,
please.
yes. Friends, family, fallacies, finances, and fears. And
Okay.
fear is just fatal energy aborting rest.
Look, if you don't do nothing else, okay, you're gonna come up with an acronym, all right? I need a okay, so code living diva acronym queen. Okay. And for those who don't really understand what that word fallacy may mean, can you just give some examples of how fallacies may appear in someone's lives in this context, at least?
Oh, absolutely. Girl, you moved to Mexico. What about the cartels? Girl, please. What
Is
about
it safe there?
is it safe where you are? What did you hear in the news? How many shootings happened in your state, in your city, in the news? You know, yes, the cartels are very real, but I wasn't into that in the States with well, I mean, look, I tell you this. We got the mafia in the US. Have you ever heard of the mafia?
Hello, I'm from Cleveland, so
Hello.
you know I know. Yeah.
We still don't know where Jimmy Hoffa is. I mean,
Right.
somebody does, but we don't know about where it is. And so just like I'm not engaged in those type of activities that those individuals are known for, that what do they want with a 64-year-old Black woman in Mexico? They can't. They look. They can't. I'm not going to be somebody that they're going to want to use in the sex marketing.
Right.
You know, I don't smoke weed. I don't smoke
you.
weed. I'm scared of that. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna be very transparent.
Sure.
I tried weed one time. I was in college and I got paranoid and called my mama. So you know, girl. I don't. No shade on anyone who does it. It's legal. But it's just not for me. It's just not for me. Give me a little wine and I'm happy.
Okay, well, look, now you're on here telling all your business.
I'm real.
I know, girl. You know me too. So what I tell people is, like, I don't interact with I don't have cartel business, so the cartel business, they don't have any business with me. But also to your point, how safe, and this is not even fear mongering. This is really to just do apples to apples.
Yeah.
I get asked all the time, is it safe there? You know, am I scared? You know, as you mentioned about the cartel, we have gangs. As you mentioned, the mafia is still alive and well, you know, at least in, you know, the Midwest area, in the East Coast. We've also had gangs for how many years? We've got people who, you know, sell drugs. Yeah, do we interact with them? No. Am I going to the parts of town like that, you know, on the corners, talking to the corner boys, things like that? No. People are people. But one thing, and I think that when you froze up, you were saying this, that it seems like the people who have never been to Mexico, because I'll ask them that in a heartbeat. Really? Did you see that when you were there? And they'll be like, oh, well, no, I never. Okay, so where are you getting this information from?
Exactly.
How are you trying to tell me that I'm living someplace more dangerous when you have never been there before? So I take it those are some examples of the fallacies.
Yeah, fake news. Fallacies is fake news.
That's ridiculous. Okay. Yeah. So please, if you are considering moving anywhere, okay, that is not a restricted jurisdiction, okay, by the United States of America, then I would really think about what the crime statistics are in just your city. Like, I live in a historic neighborhood. Well, I mean, I live here, but my other house is in a historic neighborhood in Phoenix. Very, you know, I call them fufu nunu, well-to-do. Like, I'm the poorest one in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful houses. I could walk to Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, so that'll tell you, you know, like the environment. But would I be walking down the street from Casa Elm to my house at some 10:30 at night? Yes. Would I be walking down my street at some 10 anything at night? Absolutely not. It just does not make sense. And it doesn't mean that stuff can't happen wherever you are, but the likelihood of me in this community that there's one way in and one way out, and there's like a little police station that sits at the top, they will, you know, whoop, whoop, they will pull you over if you look like you don't belong here.
Exactly.
Like that to me is much, much safer than me being in what would be an affluent neighborhood in the United States. So just look up your zip code at minimum to see. And yeah, crime may be more. Like, my zip code is split. So the crime looks like it's out of control there. It messes with my
Wow.
insurance. But my neighborhood, no, it's not. So, when you were thinking about fear that you may have, because we are like, it's natural. We're humans, we get
Mhm.
those emotions, but don't allow that fear to control you. There is a whole
Exactly.
entire fear, and the media of
Yes.
what we have seen, just the worst, like, for example, are they showing all of the millions of great experiences on the news about Airbnbs? No. When do we hear about Airbnbs? When it's like the worst case scenario, the people
Mhm.
started squatting, they tore the house up, they break the furniture, things like that. So in the United States, I will say this, that I had no idea the beauty, the kindness, the variety, I could go on and on and on, that exists outside of the United States until I started leaving as an adult, like,
Yes.
not just I'm going to like the cutesy, trips, but when I actually started in like spending money, spending time,
Mhm.
and I'm like, why do I feel so different here? And like, why can't I feel that way in the States?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was just my
Yeah.
way of waxing poetic and saying, like, just don't think about those 5 F's that she mentioned. And like I said, I'm going to put the link to that video in the description after we hop off here. But don't allow fear to control you. Don't allow
Please.
people
Mhm.
who do not have the vision that you have, who do not have what you know in your heart is meant for you. Don't expect them to understand it, and don't allow them to
Exactly.
like get you all riled up about stuff that they don't even know about. Okay, now that
Exactly.
I'm done, now that I got my pressure up, let me bring it down.
No, I love what you said, because I tell people, don't ask a blind person to co-sign for your vision.
Oh, I got that. Hold on now. Okay. I'm gonna have to write that down. I'm gonna put that in and I'm gonna clip it, okay? Like, wow. Don't allow a blind person to co-sign for your vision. That is so okay. I had to write it down because that just okay, let me move on. All right. So that's some good stuff. Okay, now we can get to, I'm sure what everybody's probably like, girl, if you don't cut it out. Okay, now I know that if people are like, this is something I'm thinking about. I don't, I really want to have a starting point. I'm hearing the things that Savvy's saying. I'm checking out her YouTube channel, and they want to book some time with you or to have you help them along in this process. Can you tell me what you offer Black women to help them really just redefine their lives?
Absolutely. We personally, I do have my coaching business, which is Savvy Boss Solutions. But you can reach me on Calendly and just have a 15-minute talk to see if I'm a fit. I'm not a fit for everybody. Like, I would not be a fit for a green personality. I might try. I'm just saying.
Okay.
So, 15 minutes, we can decide whether or not it's something that I can help you with. We also have a event which is going to be coming
Mm-hmm.
up in February. Myself and Sonia Faloyan, and we have a wonderful guest facilitator who is going to be introducing our participants to embodiology. Now,
Oh,
this is going to be happening February 21st through the 27th. So that is a week-long retreat. It's called Jumpstart Your Souljourn.
oh, I
If
love
you
that.
are a Black woman who needs some respite, you need to rest, you need to experience some ease, you need to come home to self,
Mm-hmm.
you'll want to click that link. It is going to be a phenomenal experience. And if you don't know what embodiology is, it is a form of breath work, a form of intentional movement. It's
Mm.
music that is going to increase your vitality, it's going to increase your vision, it's going to just make you be more aware of you and how to communicate to self and other individuals that are within your circle.
Oh, and then where is this going to be held?
It's going to be here in Chapala, Jalisco, Mexico.
Okay. Oh, and
All
you
the
said that.
information is in the link.
Oh, yeah. So I have everything that she's mentioned with the exception of the BFFs video. And I will put that in the description when we hop off here. But I have links to the bed and breakfast. So I'll let you go ahead and kind of talk about that process in just a second. I've got links to schedule time with you on Calendly. I've got links to your socials. You're very active on Instagram. So, okay, you're active on Instagram, you're active on LinkedIn, and then obviously you have a YouTube channel here. So if people want to experience at the bed and breakfast or experience that soft landing that you mentioned, or even to like to stay there for some time, either short term, midterm.
Yeah.
Who do you think is a really good fit for staying at one of your properties?
Anybody, well, like I said, I'm a writer. Are you someone who needs just time to just disconnect with the social vital, it's just so vital, or is what is the word I want to use? Volatile. The social volatility that's going on in the US. If you're somebody that you've never had a vacation, and you just need to get away and just be treated like the queen you are.
I know that's right.
Just reach out to us. We have daily rates, we have weekly rates, we even have monthly rates. If you want to rent out the whole B&B, we have a plan for that. As a matter of fact, we've had individuals requesting that they just want to bring their family. But the ideal individual is a Black woman that's, 45, 50 or older, who really just wants somebody to receive them and allow them to rest. Just take a break and breathe.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, well, let me see if anyone has any questions. I'm going to go ahead and just say hi to everyone. Hey, to Butterfly Effect. Hey, Chi. All right, we got Meg P. I'm mad there's all this Detroit in the building. Okay, let me not be a hater, but there's a lot of Detroit in the building. Hello
right,
to
Detroit.
Dr. Linda. Okay, stand up to D. Okay, that's all I'm gonna give y'all. All right, because Michigan and Ohio. Okay, but yeah, go ahead and put some questions if you have any questions for Savvy in there. I do see a couple comments, so I'm going to read those, and we can continue this conversation in the, I was about to say in the chat, but in the comments below, because I will be in and out of there. Savvy will be in there to check them as well. But we do have, we have some people saying, yeah, like basically they're taking notes. And then also, how are you going to tell me something when you've never been? And
Right.
then Just B said, hold on. Why y'all always sabotage yourselves? You all believe you're kings and queens. Why y'all still selling other in the 49 out of the 54 African nations? Okay. This is my first time having to address this, but I got time today. Okay. Look. Here, we do not discriminate on where people want to go. If we are thinking about transatlantic slavery, we have to start in Africa. There are many, many places. There's an entire world out there. And I personally want to experience it. Mexico is not for everyone. Australia is not for everyone. Africa and the many, many countries on the continent, even cities in the United States are not for everyone. And that's the great part about living in this vast earth, being connected to a community of Black women in the Exodus Summit community. There is not one place that you could put in there is anybody here. I'm talking about from Norway and the Arctic, freezing cold countries, all the way to, we're hitting below the equator, and including many, many women in Africa. So I know that that is something that a lot of Black people like to say, that we should be going back to the motherland. But as a really good friend of someone who went back to the motherland, she realized that the motherland does not recognize us as her children. Okay. We are adopted. And so that is not necessarily for everyone. I'm generalizing, of course, because again, we're talking about a continent, but experience the world, because you never know where you will land and where you will truly find your joy. And when it's time to keep it pushing, you go someplace else.
And
All right.
and I just want to say something that Sonia always reminds me of. Mexico is Africa's grandmother. You know, all of the individuals that came to the U.S. on slave ships, all of them didn't come, you know, and land in the U.S. There were some that landed right there in Mexico. And I do have a diva list that includes traveling to Africa at some point in time. But at this time in my life, I'm establishing a safe haven in Mexico. It's real close to the U.S. I'm easy in and easy out. But there are places like Ghana that are on my diva list. I don't have a what they call a bucket list, because I'm not putting a time stamp or an expiration date on my life, thinking about things I got to get done before I die. I have a diva list. And I expect to live a long, productive, and prosperous life according to Psalms 92:14. Even in old age, I will be full of vitality, productive, and prospering.
All right. Well, on that note, I would pass the collection plate. All right. We got to have a benediction. Okay. But yeah, Savvy, look, I thank you so much for being my very first guest on the Sisters in the Movement series. And tell people, what is your handle on Instagram? Again, it's in the description, but tell people where they can find you again.
Yes, you can find me at Savvy Souljourn. That's SAVVY SOULJAR. I am a soul within a vessel, and I'm just being used by God to assist women to find their happy.
I love that. Okay, well, no better note than to close on that. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in for this first episode of Sisters in a Movement. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and throw them in the, I keep wanting to say chat. Go ahead and throw them. Make a comment. Someone will respond to you. And please keep being amazing Black women. I'll see you later. Bye.